did to learn English was to study something else. Please help me welcome Karl Grieve.
I hated English in school. That's not to say I was a poor reader or a poor writer, but in grade school it was a lot of rote learning, boring exercises, underline subject, circle verb, underline subject, circle verb, underline. Okay, I get it. It's boring. Oh, here, by the way, your 10 new vocabulary words that you need to memorize. Jeez. And then in high school, you learn a lot more about grammar, appositives, relatives, pronouns. What is the correct tense for the verb go in the third person plural, present indicative? I don't know. There's too many rules. I mean, now I know how people felt about math class. With algebra stuff, I'm never going to use algebra again. What am I ever going to need that for? So it gave me an appreciation for what other people think. And I also hated writing. Two things about writing that I didn't like. One was the subject was always picked by my teacher. What did you do in your summer vacation? Summer vacation. I write about that every day. Hate that. And the physical act of writing. Now mind you, for the younger generation, you're going to have no understanding of this. But back when I was writing in grade school and high school, it was pencil on paper, which is very slow and tedious. Now imagine delivering a speech at the pace at which you write. Now you can see how tedious, I mean, after 20 minutes you're going to be, get on with it, come on. So I got passing grades, but I didn't like it. But that started to change when I was in high school, and I've been learning ever since, and it's been a lot of fun. The first thing was, I studied French for 4 years in high school. And this is, now you got everything. Pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, it's all from the ground up. And that got me interested in seeing how languages, different languages are put together. The words come in different order. And you can't translate exactly word for word back and forth. That's just transcription. Translation is something altogether different. And then when I was a freshman in college, my parents hosted a German exchange student for a year. And so I'd see him on the weekends and holidays and things like that. But they hosted him for a full calendar year. So I even spent a lot of time with him in the summer. So I started hearing a lot of German in the house. Now press the fast forward button because I only have a limited amount of time. My brother's wife, her name is Agnes Verbeke. She's Belgian. She speaks 4 languages, probably 5 now because they've been living in Panama for a couple of years. And a note to all of you, never ever play Scrabble with someone who knows 4 languages. You're gonna lose. My younger sister's husband, he immigrated with his family from Mexico when he was about 8. His name is Jorge Munoz, and the whole family's bilingual. So it figures I spent all the years studying French, and I should have been studying Spanish. But over the years I've been exposed to many different languages, and it's really had an influence on my English. Now at the same time, this happened in parallel. Something else was going on. And my senior year in high school, my math teacher got a Commodore PET, just this little computer, personal computer. And then on Christmas, Santa showed up with a Commodore 64, and I started programming. Now if you know anything about programming, if you thought your English teacher was strict, start programming a computer. Anything, a missing comma, an end statement isn't there, the whole thing just falls down, doesn't even get started sometimes. So along the way, when I was in engineering school, I learned basic, Fortran, C, assembly, different languages, each with their own syntax, their own grammar. These days I use mostly Python. This is an interesting language. It's designed actually to be easily read. And groups of code are delineated by their level of indentation. So the farther you indent it, it assigns a block of code. One extra space, and the Python interpreter just crashes and burns. Can't figure out what you mean. And indenting a line of code can actually reorganize the structure of the program itself. So every word, every character when you're programming a computer is significant. One thing out of place and the whole thing can fall apart. So let's come back to the English. That all this programming has actually rewired my brain, because now my wife will ask me something simple like, honey, did you take the garbage out last night? I'm like, take out the garbage. did I take out the garbage or did I take the garbage out? Is one of those right? Is one of those wrong? Is the order of those words significant? Garbage out. So I'm stuck in this little world and I'll say, you know, honey, did you hear me? Did you take the garbage out last night? Okay, all right, sorry. But that's the level of influence that this stuff has had on me over the years. These days, I love to speak, I love to write, and now that I finally got the fundamentals nailed down, who versus whom and all that, it's fun. And it's like a musician. If you don't know the fundamentals, you're not going to be any good at it. So first you learn to play the notes, and your scales and your chords, and then you just build on that. You get dynamics, phrasing, song structure, learning the repertoire. And a great example of that is in jazz. If you're trying to figure out, let's see, a D minor 7, just like that, well, you're done. You're not having fun, the audience isn't having fun, and I think for me that's why I hated English the same way I hated practicing scales. It's time-consuming, tedious, but what I didn't know is that in the long run, it's liberating. And why is that? Because it frees you from the mechanics of whether it's playing music or writing and speaking. Now you're free to think about that next level up. And these days, I have fun improvising. I like to play with words, I like to twist them around, but not necessarily in a catawampus way. It's bending the rules and maybe even breaking them in a particular way. That's where the fun is, not just arbitrarily. And I wish it as a kid that I'd known then what I know now, and maybe I wouldn't hate English class so much. But that's hindsight. That's all that I know now is I'm a product of the path that's taken me to this point. And I drew this little thing up here. I'm just going to go to the board and say, if this is English, and you start out here with da 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 da, and then you're learning and you're creative and now you're innovative. Well, my path has been more like this. There's some French in here and maybe some Spanish. Oh, let's throw in some Fortran. Oh, maybe some Python. Dutch. My path sort of went like this. And maybe around back to here and then over to here. And like this. But I tell you what, I really enjoyed it. I don't regret it. The quickest point from A to B might be a straight line, but I hope that my journey through English continues to stay off the beaten path.
Nice job, Karl. Mr. Timer, we have a minute to do our evaluations.